Strategic Living with Brian Holmes, episode number 18. Welcome, everyone, to the program today. My name is Brian Holmes, and you have, in fact, found the Strategic Living podcast, and we're so delighted to have you join us. And this podcast is all about transforming minds, developing leaders, activating destinies, and we believe that if enough of us can really become all God's called us to be and do, we can change the world. So as we begin today, we want to see you healed, your mind renewed and transformed. I want to challenge you today. And really, at the end of the day, we want to see you discover all that you can be in this life. Well, just get comfortable, and I'm anxious to get started with you. Well, thank you again for joining us on the program today, and I really am excited about the topic we're going to be discussing, and we'll get to that in just a couple of moments. But I want to just say, if this is your first time to discover us or join us here on the podcast, we want to just say thank you. And we're very delighted to have you on board in our community, and we believe that there's something of value for you here. So thank you for being a part. If this is maybe your second, third, or fourth, or 10th time to be with us, welcome back, and thank you for engaging with us on this journey of strategic living. Well, today's going to be an exciting day, and I just want to start the program here with a few questions. Number one, are you tired of settling for average and ordinary? Are you tired of settling for that which is just average and ordinary? Here's my second question for you. Are you frustrated with the world around you? When you look outside of yourself and you see all that's taking place and all the craziness and all the dysfunction going on in our world, are you frustrated, and do you wonder why somebody doesn't just stand up and lead and make a difference? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Won't somebody just do something about all of this nonsense? Well, here's another question for you. Are you waiting for someone outside of you to be the person that leads, or be the person that bucks the system, or be the person that challenges the average and the ordinary? Well, my job today and my task is to challenge you, because I want to see you become that leader. As a matter of fact, I want to see you become a leader who challenges the status quo. Well, today's podcast is going to be a little bit different, and maybe you can already tell that by the way we've started with these handful of questions. In fact, I think there's probably several things that you'll notice that will come across a little bit different today. I'm going to be dealing with the subject of leadership, but I'm not going to be talking about just leadership in a broad sense. I want to talk about a particular kind of leadership. And in doing so, my very intent is to challenge you. I want to literally call out some man, some woman who would accept the challenge to lead their generation in a very unique and a very special way. I want to warn you, I may come across a little stronger than I normally do, but what I really want today is I want you to know that the life that you are currently living is not all you have to settle for. I want you to know that the circumstances that are taking place in your personal world all around you, they are the result of someone's leadership, but it may not be your leadership. And if you're not satisfied with the results you're getting in your life, if you're not satisfied with the circumstances and the things that are taking place outside of you, there's only one person who can change that. And I believe that's you. You see, somebody has determined for you that where you are is where you should be. And the truth is, I think on some level, we're all people pleasers, and we tend to go along to get along. But this podcast today, I'm just declaring to you that that's not going to cut it anymore. You see, our slogan here on this podcast is transforming minds. That's part A. Part B is developing leaders. So it's my desire today just to shake you up a little bit. I want to call you out because this world needs the kind of leader I'm going to be talking about here today. So why am I coming after you today? Why am I wanting to shake you up and call you out and challenge you on such a strong level? Well, here's why. The world in which we live today is in desperate need of true leadership. Not just any kind of leadership. I believe we need what I refer to as transformational leadership. Leadership that challenges the status quo. Leadership that doesn't settle for just any answer that's given and we just take our lumps and we sit down and we shut up and we move on. No, leadership is that kind of leadership that literally says if we're not pleased or happy or content with the results we're getting now, if we don't like some of the changes that are being made for us by others who have certain agendas, then we're going to stand up for righteousness. We're going to stand up for truth. We're going to stand up for what is best for our families, for our nation, for our personal lives, for our businesses. Because absent of leadership, true leadership, leadership that transforms, then what happens is that we're going to continue in the direction we're going now, and that may or may not satisfy you. For me, it does not satisfy me. You say, Brian, what are you talking about today? Well, let me just put it like this. Governments are failing us. And I'm not going to be political here today. I don't want you to take that in that kind of a way, but let's just be very, very straightforward. We have such dysfunction, and I'm speaking concerning our particular nation, that is the USA. And right now, the approval rating for our congressmen and women and our senators, those that lead us by policy making and deciding our future for us, the approval ratings for our leaders are in the tank. They're in the teens percentages. And it doesn't seem like anybody has the courage or the fortitude or the strength to stand up and say, look, what we're doing is not working, so we must change something. And it takes a very confident, a very strong, a very bold person who is willing to go against the grain, to swim upstream if necessary, to challenge what everybody else is just conceding. And our governments all around the world right now are not standing for righteousness. They're not standing for principles. They're not even leading by fiscal responsibilities. You say, well, Brian, is this going to be a show about our governments? No. I'm getting to a couple of things here, but I'm beginning by saying leadership is necessary if our nations are going to move in the right direction. Another area is religion. Religion is frankly becoming void of relevance, and you all know that I am a religious person. I am a spiritual person. I have a relationship with my God, and I believe very strongly that every human being should have that redemptive relationship with their Lord and Savior. I also believe that it is imperative that people associate with and collaborate with and connect with relationally those other individuals who are of their faith. I believe that when we begin to disconnect and we begin to fall away from this life source of being a part of a church or a parish or a synagogue, some place where we can connect with other people of like faith, I believe we begin to have serious struggles. But beyond that, I believe that religion as an institution is failing us. I believe that no longer are we seeing a relevant message, a relevant methodology provided by those who are spiritual leaders. Well, because of the absence of leadership in our governments, because of the absence of leadership in our societies, in religious sectors, more and more people are looking for their answers in other places. And because there is a lack of direction, a lack of leadership, a lack of vision, if you will, we have small groups of people who are fundamentally changing the way we do life. Moral definitions, moral climates, entire cultures are being changed by way of their moral compasses by very small, minute groups of people. And it's not because they're correct necessarily, and it's not because they are doing what is right in the eyes of God or in the eyes of man. It's simply because they have chosen to lead. They've chosen to swim upstream. They've chosen to stand up, state their case, state their agenda, and be willing to execute that with great precision and great persistence until something changes in the direction they decide it needs to change. Well, the truth is that we're seeing these same kinds of issues in our businesses, in our economic sectors. We're seeing it with our educational models around the world. Our children's minds are being formed by agendas that are unbelievably toxic and destructive to nations. Yet, those of us who maybe are on the other side of the coin or on the other side of the aisle, so to speak, we aren't standing up and saying anything about it. And so it used to be the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And our problem is we don't have enough squeaky wheels amongst our ranks. Educational models are forming the future generation to think a certain way, believe a certain way, act a certain way, behave a certain way, conduct business a certain way. And because of this, our nation is moving in a direction that may or may not be productive for us, generationally speaking. Financial systems are failing. Dollars, currencies from around the world are failing. And all of these have to do with positions, ideas, methodologies, paradigms that we have held to for many, many years. And it seems as though no one is willing to stand up and say, enough is enough. Change must occur in these areas, and I'm willing to lead, even if it means being persecuted. Let me speak a truth to you here that I think is profound. There are a very small group of people, a handful of people that are literally right now determining the future of nations. Think about that. In other words, there's just a few people who are passing laws, a few people who are creating policies, a few people who are creating systems, and then the masses, that's you and I, the masses, we just file in to line and we follow along, and we really aren't realizing that by just filing in and following some leader, we are settling for the status quo at best. And we may be settling for something far worse than status quo. Ronald Reagan, great president in this nation, said, status quo, is Latin for the mess we're in. I'm going to say it again. Ronald Reagan, great quote, says, the status quo, is Latin for this mess we're in. Well, let's think about it. The methods, the ideas, the philosophies, the programs, the doctrines, all of the things that we do that have brought us to this place right now in history, those same methods, those same ideas, those same philosophies, those same mindsets will not serve us in the next season. Now, I want you to know that I believe very strongly there are spiritual laws and principles that never change, and these we must adhere to. There are biblical truths, there are commandments, there are things that are principles that do not change with time, and these we do not veer from. But I'm going to say this on the other side of that coin. The season that we're in today requires a certain kind of leadership that is willing to challenge the norms, to challenge the status quo, to challenge and really ask the right kinds of questions. All right, is what we're doing effective? And if it's not effective, then do we need to do something differently? And as long as the doing something differently does not violate a spiritual law, a principle, a commandment of God's word, in my mind, then I believe it's something we must explore and must execute so that we can move our people groups, our families, our generations forward in a way that's very productive and very fruitful. Albert Einstein said something very profound, and I may have mentioned this before on the program, but it comes to my mind in this particular presentation. He said the significant problems that we face cannot be solved on the same level we were on when we created the problem. I'm going to say it one more time. The significant problems we face cannot be solved on the same level we were on when we created the problem. In other words, what we were doing at the time that caused us to come to this place right now, if we're going to change our status today, if we're going to change our condition, change our circumstance, we cannot solve the challenges we have today using the same technology, the same ideas, the same methods that we used that got us here. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, as the old cliche goes, you're going to keep getting the same results. I like this one. This is a quote that I believe I came up with some time ago when I was doing a presentation. I said, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If we continue to simply maintain what we've been told is normal, even sometimes what we've been told is right, we will continue to be relegated to the measure of results that someone else has defined for our lives. The Bible tells us that if the blind lead the blind, we all fall in the ditch. And you know what's crazy is I believe there's a whole lot of that going on. I believe we are blind followers in so many instances because we are people who want to please others. We want to get along to go along, or we go along to get along. And in doing so, we don't vet some of these ideas, some of these methods, some of these policies. We don't really look at the facts and the truth that surround and shroud these decisions that we're making. I believe it's critical, ladies and gentlemen, that if we're going to succeed in life as individuals, if we are going to set our families up, our generations up, our children, our grandchildren up for success down the road, then we need to look seriously at what we're doing and does it work? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But here's the thing. You cannot change what you're not willing to acknowledge. And if the result that you're getting in your life today, if the result you're getting in your community today, in your state, in your nation, in your world, if the results are not conducive with the desires of your heart and the potential you know can be realized, then you must look at becoming a leader that challenges the status quo. So what am I saying to you today? Well, we're faced with the choice of a lifetime, really. We are faced with the choice of continuing to follow the masses, and in doing so, we must be content to live in mediocrity. We must be content to settle for something less than what God intends for our lives. Or the other choice is we answer the call and we become the leader that creates the very change that we desire. In other words, I cannot gripe or complain or fuss or criticize or ridicule those that are outside of me if I am unwilling to engage the process and be the change that I desire to see. So we continue to follow the masses, or we answer the call to become that leader. So how do we do this, Brian? How do we become a leader who challenges the status quo? That sounds really scary to me because, if you ever stand up and argue your point, and if you ever stand up for what is right, or you stand up for what you believe is right, or you stand up to challenge an idea, people are going to ridicule you. They're going to curse you. They're going to persecute you and really mark you. Yeah, exactly right. And you know what? We need a whole lot of those kind of people who are willing to stand up and take a bullet if necessary. I don't mean a literal bullet, but figuratively speaking, we need someone who will stand up and say, I'll be the man. I'll be the woman. I'll be the young person. I'll be that kid on the college campus who will make a difference in my world. I will challenge what everyone else has come to embrace as being, okay, this is just how we have to do things. So how do we do it? How do you become the leader who challenges the status quo? Well, let me just start by saying this to you. Every person has the capacity to become a leader that challenges the status quo and makes a significant difference in his or her world. And I believe you can do so by following these 5 steps. Number 1, decide. Make a decision. There's nothing more frustrating in the world than someone who cannot make a decision, who just simply straddles the fence. They're neither here nor there. They're neither hot nor cold. They just want to be in the middle because they don't want to create conflict on either side of an argument. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to become a leader who really challenges the norms and the status quo, the first step in this process is you must decide that average and ordinary is no longer acceptable to you. That's right. I will not settle in my life for anything less than excellent, anything less than all, anything less than 100% of what God has designed for my life, inside or outside of me. So I have to make a decision that average and ordinary is no longer acceptable. Number 2, you have to determine that you will be the leader that challenges the status quo. Well, that sounds simple enough. Well, here's the thing. Most of us are always looking for somebody else to be the guy. Most of us always are looking for someone else to stand up and get their head smacked. It's like, hey, man, we got to do something about this. We got to change this, man. Okay, you do something. No, you do something. We always want to have somebody else step up. If you'll go, I'll follow. No, I want you to determine that you will be that person. You will be the leader. You will challenge the status quo. So number 1, decide that average and ordinary is no longer acceptable to you. Number 2, determine that you will be that person that leads and challenges the status quo. Number 3, describe. Describe what, Brian? Well, I would encourage you, even challenge you to get a pen and paper out, or if you are a person who likes to do everything electronically, get your computer up, boot it up, go into your favorite note-taking software, and I want you to describe the change you desire to see in whatever area of influence it might be. If you want to see something different in your government, type it out. Write your thoughts. Write what is in your heart. Describe it in detail. If you are not satisfied with your financial picture in your life right now, describe the change you desire to see. If the relationships in your life are not satisfying you, if something's not clicking on all cylinders there, and you know something needs to change, I want you to sit down, take the time, and describe in as much detail as you can conjure in your heart. Describe the change you desire to see in whatever area of life it may be. Describe it. Write it down. Decide, determine, and number 3, describe. Number 4, design. I want you to design a plan and a strategy that is teachable, transferable, and something that can be implemented right now. All right, so think about it. You've made a decision. I will no longer settle for what's being handed to me in life. Number 2, you've determined that you will be the person that challenges the status quo. Number 3, now you've sat down and you've described in great detail what you want to see happen in those areas. And now from that description, or maybe it's multiple items you've talked about there, now you begin to design a plan and a strategy. How am I going to start this process of making the change that needs to take place? What can I do? What's my first step? Do I need to call my congressman or woman? Do I need to call my senators? Do I need to run for office? Do I need to sit on the school board? Do I need to change jobs? Do I need to get a certification or more education? What do I need to do? Design a plan and a strategy that will move you in the direction of creating the change you desire to see. So number 1, decide. Number 2, determine that you'll be that person. Number 3, describe the change you desire to see. And number 4, design a plan and a strategy that's teachable, transferable, and something you can take action on right now. Step number 5, do it. As the old Nike commercial said, just do it. Just do it. Lead by example. Be out in front. Get up off your butt and do something. That's right, I said butt on this program. Don't sit on the sidelines and be a spectator and watch life happen all around you. Don't be a spectator sitting in your recliner in your living room being an armchair quarterback telling everybody what they should do, but you're not willing to get up and do something to make that change. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to take action on the change you desire to see. If it is to be, it is up to me. That's what someone once said. So decide that average and ordinary is no longer acceptable to you. Determine that you will be the leader that challenges the status quo. You will not be the guy sitting back waiting for somebody else to be the guy. You'll be the guy. Describe the change you desire to see. Design a plan and a strategy that is teachable and can be implemented right now. You can take action on it right now. And then guess what? Now that you got a plan, you got to get up and do something. Lead by example. Be out in front. You know, to be a leader, you only have to be one step in front of somebody else, but you have to be in front. Let me tell you something about leadership that I know. If you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. I'm going to let that settle in for just a minute. If you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. And so let me just make it plain for you. If you are not out in front leading and creating the change you desire to see happen, then your nose is going to be planted in somebody else's rear end and you're going to be following someone and you don't know if where they're taking you is where you want to go. If you're not the lead dog, the scenery never, ever changes. So I want to challenge you. The Bible says that the entire earth, the whole earth, is right now anxiously awaiting the revealing of the sons of God. Did you know you're a son of God? You're a daughter of God? Do you know that He is the King of Kings? That makes you a king. You know that your created purpose is to rule and govern in the earth on His behalf? We really can't be true sons without being real leaders. We really cannot transform or change nations unless we are first willing to be changed from the inside out ourselves. And so we cannot allow fear to stand in our way. We cannot allow intimidation to keep us down. We cannot allow our hearts to be paralyzed where we're only able to sit back and hope something good happens. No, we have to become leaders that challenge the status quo. If you don't like the world you're living in right now, I challenge you, get up and change it. If you are not satisfied with your financial picture in your personal life right now, I want to challenge you, lead your family to a better place. If you're not satisfied with your spiritual walk, if you're not seeing the kind of results in your life that you know are corresponding with a relationship with God, then you need to lead your family and lead yourself into a place where that changes. No one else is going to do that for you. So will you answer the call? Will you be that leader? Will you rise up even in the face of criticism, even in the face of persecution? Because let me tell you something. When you decide to stick your head up and say, I'm going to lead, rest assured, not everybody's going to be for you. So are you willing to face criticism? Are you willing to not be liked by somebody? If it means leading, will you take this challenge today? Will you begin today to be the change you desire to see? Can I count on you to be somebody who will refuse from this point forward to settle for average, for ordinary, or the status quo? I really believe you can be that person. I believe you can be that man. I believe you can be that woman. And let me tell you what, the world desperately, desperately needs you. I believe you can. I believe you will. And I believe that we must become leaders who challenge the status quo. Well, if you'd like to comment on this episode, I want to encourage you to go to brianholmes.com. Go to the show notes for this episode. That's brianholmes.com/018. Scroll down to the bottom of the post. And you'll see a comment section there. We would love so much to hear from you. We would love to engage with you in conversation, even answer your questions. I believe with all of my heart, ladies and gentlemen, that God has designed it that you and I would be elevated and to emerge in this season as leaders who literally change nations because of our influence and because of our willingness to challenge the status quo. Well, next week I'm going to be talking about developing an attitude of thankfulness. It's going to be getting really close to our Thanksgiving holiday here in the U.S., and I want to talk about how important it is to possess all the time, every day, an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of being thankful. If you'd like to leave a question for us, you can do that at brianholmes.com. I trust that you will be that man or that woman that will create change and challenge the status quo. Well, just a couple of quick announcements for you here today. Nothing too major, but I still have a couple of openings for coaching clients. I've added several since we've been talking about this on the podcast. I would be deeply honored if you would allow us to explore together the opportunity of me coming alongside of you as a life coach, an executive coach, maybe for your business, something that we specialize in and feel very strongly about. And so I would love that opportunity. We could have a conversation on the phone and just explore what that might mean for you. So if you'd like to find out more about that, just give us a call or contact us via our website. If you'd like to have me speak at your church, your conference, or your leadership event maybe, just visit our speaking page at brianholmes.com/speaking. Also, I want to mention to you that we are quite involved in helping others to become certified professional coaches. I am a master coach trainer, and I do live coach trainings here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on a fairly frequent basis, about every 2 or 3 months. But also, we're doing these live online via the internet, and those can be group sessions or one-on-one. So if you would like to explore becoming a certified life coach, a fitness coach, an executive coach, we would love to help you in that process. Go to brianholmes.com, and you will find out more information about becoming a certified coach. Well, a couple of last-minute things here. Subscribe to our updates on our website. We'd love to contact you on a regular basis just with updates on our post, our podcast, our Monday Mastery videos to let you know what's happening here at brianholmes.com. Also, I have a favor to ask of you today. I'd like for you to subscribe to our podcast in iTunes and also rate us in iTunes. You say, why is that important? Well, it helps us be more recognizable to those who are searching for this kind of content. If you'd be so kind, if you've found value in what we're offering here, I would encourage you to do that and help us also by sharing this with your friends and associates on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and everywhere else that you engage in social media. I trust something we've shared with you today has challenged you to pursue God's very best for your life. You see, I want to see you healed. I know there's things in your heart that probably keep you a little paralyzed, but we want to see those things healed. We want to see you transformed in how you think and how you see yourself. And I want to see you activated to fulfill your unique purpose and destiny, which, by the way, I believe with all of my heart includes what we've talked about today, becoming a leader in whatever area of life you're assigned to that challenges the status quo. Well, as always, it's great to have you with us today. I want to encourage you to take this challenge, take it seriously, take some time, sit down, and really look at how can I become this leader? Decide, determine, describe, design, and then do it. Decide, average and ordinary is not for you. Determine that you will be that leader. Describe the change you desire to see. Design a plan and a strategy that's teachable, transferable, and that can be done right now. And then get up, baby, and go do it. Thank you for being with us today. Until next time, remember you are made in His image, His likeness, called for a purpose. The whole world's waiting for you to show up.